Hello, and welcome to the future of public transportation, autonomous vehicles, where you no longer have to wait long times at bus stops, and the transportation can just come to you and drop you back off right at your house. In today's world, people are becoming increasingly conscious about becoming more accessible and welcoming to those who feel disadvantaged. Because of this, we must take the steps to improve the lives of people who feel less than. Two groups of people that we believe need more attention are the elderly and the disabled, specifically in terms of transportation and infrastructure. Public transportation has been an important part of our society since the early 19th century, but it is time for it to be revitalized and give the people a greater convenience and greater ease of travel. A problem that we quickly identified when evaluating public transportation was the lack of ease of access for the disabled and elderly. These two demographics make up a large portion of the United States population, according to the CDC and United States Census. There are 54 million elderly people in the United States and 61 million disabled people, with only 42% of the disabled people being elderly. This amounts to about 89 million people, or about 27% of the U.S. population. These groups have tougher times getting to public transportation because of their lack of mobility, and it is often just more difficult in general for them to travel around.
As we know, the two main groups that our project focuses around as the target audience are those who are elderly as well as those who are otherwise disabled. These two groups of people have to rely on those around them to get where they need to go because in many cases, the ease of access issues with public transport make it a non-option for them. We feel that there needs to be reform in our current public transport system to cover this issue, and we believe that our solution could be that reform. The solution we feel best addresses the ease of access issues for the elderly and otherwise disabled is the expansion of public transport to include fully autonomous vehicles, such as autonomous vehicles being connected to current transportation systems like ride-sharing or vehicle-for-hire services. These autonomous cars could also function in a wider range than could reasonably be expected for a person who's driving. Sending a driverless car out of town 30 miles to pick someone up from their house is far more reasonable than expecting a third party to help the person get where they need to go. And because of the uniqueness of autonomous vehicles, the need for human drivers and for paying for the driver's time would be lessened, and so the prices for these different ride-sharing or vehicle-for-hire services would go down. The only thing really needed to change to implement this solution is to do it. We already have autonomous vehicles. We can make this system work. This figure shows all of the different information overlays that computerized cars deal with as they drive, as they move you from place to place. They use things like LiDAR, video cameras, radar, and ultrasonic sensors to get as much information about the world around them as they possibly can so that they are able to make the most effective decision for the situation and keep every party involved in the driving safe.
This is a possible advertisement design for marketing our autonomous public transport system to the public. Advertisement designs like this one could be placed on billboards along major highways or as signs and posters in urban cities. This is only one of the many ways our design can be marketed to our target audience. Our other possible marketing strategies include newspaper and radio advertisements and online marketing. Our autonomous public transport system relates to the grand challenge of restoring and improving urban infrastructure. An important goal of this grand challenge is to improve access to transportation for people with disabilities and the elderly. Our design meets this goal by personalizing public transport for users and by having a greater service area than conventional public transportation systems. Our design can also be integrated into urban areas without requiring additional infrastructure and without damaging the urban landscape. While our design is feasible, it does have a few shortcomings. One obstacle with implementing our design is that it may take time for it to be accepted by the general population and by our target audience, as people who have never used autonomous vehicles may be wary of the new technology. A second shortcoming of our design is that it will have a high cost if it is implemented on a large scale. Overall, our autonomous public transport system is widely accessible and will not only benefit people with disabilities and the elderly, but will also benefit virtually anyone. We hope that our design will reinvent urban transportation in the near future.